Hey guys, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Shannon, which you might know from Objective Personality / Davesuperpowers. So welcome, Shan.
Thanks. Hi. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for doing this talk. I think I haven't seen you since, I think it was in January since I last saw you.
Oh, yeah. We did the meetup, huh? Is
Yeah,
that when?
yeah, like I was
Yeah.
so surprised like how tall you and Dave were.
I know. We get that a lot.
I
We
was
are
like, oh my
tall.
God, what the hell? Like, didn't see this
Because you
from.
only see this much. It's like just a little, 4-inch box.
Yeah, but you're both super tall. Like it's not just you. It's both of you guys. Yeah.
I know. It's funny being around Dave because he's always like, you're so short. You're so short. And it's just like us. And I'm like, I've never been called short before in my life. Like that's always been like, you're that tall. So it's funny being around him. I'm shorty in the household.
Yeah. Are you six? Are you at 6 foot at least, or
No, I'm 5'10".
5'10"? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
Almost 5'10". It's like right under 5'10".
But that's not. It's like
Tall for a girl.
it is. But
Yeah.
are you both from California? I think that's
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Okay, and then you both moved to Oregon. Like,
Yeah. I grew up in Southern California and then moved to Oregon because of Dave. So yeah, came to see Dave, came to work with Dave.
but how did what made you both decide to go to Oregon? Because you're both from California. Like, what happened?
Yeah. So I actually knew Dave when I lived down in California. I met him down in Southern California. He randomly moved down there. He was born and raised in the Bay Area and moved down to LA. I think he was just basically looking for something new. I know that sounds so random for an IJ, but he was basically trying to get out of his old life just to grow up, become a man, and went down to Southern California, met a whole bunch of friends. And those were our mutual friends. That's how I met him there. And then his reasoning for going up to Oregon, I think it had a lot to do with, IJ reasons of like less sun. It was, the weather was easier to manage, less people, things were easier to grow on the trees, like stuff like that, where it's like in a survival situation, it'd be easier to survive in Oregon than it would in California. All this sounds so insane saying it now. And then I just came up to Oregon because of Dave. So I came to work for him. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say I want less sun.
I
That's
know.
like you'd never hear. But so I was watching your video with your Q&A when you were looking at Laura's data, and
Oh, right.
and because I've been doing interviews of all the different people that has been typed by
Oh,
op.
yeah. I've seen a lot of those people in that stats.
The one thing that I've noticed was that the EJs is the most rare when it comes to seeking out their personality, which makes
Right.
sense, right? So
Right.
I'm wondering, like, how did you get into personality, like Myers-Briggs, and then eventually to objective personality when you are also an EJ, and you probably didn't care, you probably didn't give a shit about this at all, like when
I
you.
didn't.
So like
No.
now you're like one of the gurus now. So like how did that happen? That's such a like the least likely to happen.
Right. Yeah, no, I wasn't interested in this for personal reasons at all. In fact, even when I first started working, they had us take, when I was doing my very first job out of college, they had us do one of those tests. And I got ENTJ and I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like this. This is not me. I don't want to control the tribe. I hate that. This doesn't resonate. I hate this. And honestly, I hated it because it was possibly going to be used as a reason to not hire me because I was now overqualified. So we can't hire you if you're an ENTJ for this, technician position. And I was like, no, I can do it. Please ignore that. Please ignore this thing. I promise I'll be good. Like it's just so I hated the test because it meant that I wasn't going to be accepted by the tribe at first, So, honestly, the main goal for us was to get, when I was working with Dave, was to get our RC business working. And so by any means necessary. And it was fascinating seeing all these patterns from all of our employees were just a bunch of ISTJs. A lot of them were. Now, of course, there was other types filtered in there, but it was so weird to just see for me, I'm demon, conceptual. I have demon patterns. So I was just like, okay, so what's happening here? Why are they all talking the same? How funny that humans have the same thing going on that animals do, where there's categories and they all play roles and stuff, and people in the tribe. So that was being able to use this stuff as a way to then communicate better with humans was now like, okay, this is very important. This isn't just something to help me understand me, although that would be great. This is going to help me understand others. And so, of course, as an EJ, my main concern is to actually look outward, see the tribe, and actually get to know the tribe better. So wait, this is a tool to get to know the tribe better? Oh, I love that. I'll get on board with that. So yeah, that's mainly why.
So you got on board with it, but did you still like it? Did you trust it?
Oh, that's good. So honestly, so like when we would do the discoveries, like every time we would have a new discovery, this is because it was like, honestly, the deepest part of all of this, like Dave and I, yes, we used it for business, but we were using it to understand our relationship, each other.
Oh,
and yeah, so it was like, and yes, a lot of times it was really positive. It was like, oh, look at that. One more area that Dave and I are opposites in. Of course we are. And then it was like, well, one more area that we're opposites in. Now I know why I'm mad at you all the time. Now I know why that drives me crazy about you. So like for a very long time, while we were discovering each one of the coins and seeing all these parts, it honestly became either like a really positive thing where it was like, okay, cool, I can now use this for growth, or even like a really negative thing where it was like, now I see what really drives me crazy about this person in my life. So it was often a very negative, dark thing because of it pulling out all of the things that we needed to work on, which of course then led to massive growth later. But no, I didn't like it at first because it was like every time we discover one of these coins, we have a big giant fight about that's what I hate about you, you know? Because we're just exact opposites. We're like oil and water. It's like, yeah, I knew it. I knew there's a scientific thing behind why you drive me crazy.
now, because you have masculine TE and feminine FI, like when Dave and you started prodding into your like identities and stuff, did you feel like it was very invasive? Like, did you feel uncomfortable? And
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, totally. And then sometimes we would find something that we didn't like about the EJs, and then I would feel really insecure. Or we'd find something that we didn't like about the OEs, and I'd feel really insecure. And then it would be like, oh, you know, what's the hardest or the most insecure is feminine identity. And then that would just make me insecure. And then feminine FI is just, you know, melts down emotionally. And then, yeah, like all of that, like pulling out of the stuff. As an EJ, I don't want to look at identity. I don't want to look at that stuff. I don't want to talk about where I'm weak because I already have that naturally. I already have the focus on the tribe, therefore not focusing on self, therefore insecurities there. It's like you're not working out that muscle and you know it, you know? So yeah, all that stuff, all the prodding of each one of the parts definitely led to a lot of insecurities, which that's why it was a massive growth, you know, for years after that. So yeah, it was not fun at first, I can tell you that. The darkness, you know, having to pull all that out.
right. But so when did you finally come to terms with it? You're like, you know what, I need this. This is the turning, you know, the turning point, you could say, where you're like, no, I need this. I know this is painful. I don't feel very good, but this is what I need to do to grow as a person, not just for me, but also to improve my relationship with Dave. Like when was the turning point? Because eventually you must have been like, at first you were like kind of resisting it, right? Like you were looking the science behind it, but not so much like for yourself. Like, hey, stop looking at me, let's the other guy. Like when was the turning point where like, yes, this is good. It hurts, I feel bad, but it's time. Let's do this, you know? Like
right. That's so true, because for a really long time when Dave was going through his stuff, it was very easy for me, especially as the DE, to go, yeah, you need to work on that. And just pointing that finger outward, like, yeah, you're crazy. You, right? Like the DE loves to just point the finger, you.
Yeah.
But then once all his stuff started settling and things were still not going well, but they were always not going well in my departments. They were always like, I was always needing to get babysat to solve just very small issues like how to photograph our RC planes or how to cook soup for, 50 days. Like all of these things that were my projects, and I wasn't controlling them enough. I wasn't narrowing them down enough. And therefore I would get insecure because the team was upset. I I was noticing just the blow-ups were always only happening in my department. So I couldn't play the Fairsies game anymore because Dave had already solved all of his stuff. He had already made the house in his departments calm. And so now it was like, oh, okay, so if your stuff is taken care of, then where does that leave me? Okay, so I'm now the only guy out here that's causing problems. And you just get to the point where you're like, I really want to blame. I want to be, oh, maybe I'm blaming because you're now focusing on me and that's where the problems are coming. You're just too picky and that's where the problems are coming from. Like in any way, shape, or form, if I could blame, I would blame. And that took years, like where I was just able to still find a way that it was like, you're too picky or you're too controlling or the problems are still you. But it's like, you can't, like, honestly, like time after time after time after time, it would get to the point where we started a log, like we would log like dates and where the chaos was coming from or where the problems or where the drama was coming from and like who's responsible. And just time after time after time, it's like, okay, Shannon's department again, Shannon's department again, Shannon's department again, drama, crying in the corner, can't get her stuff organized, just like ridiculous to the point where you're like, I can't blame anymore. I'm like running out of things to blame, running out of excuses. Because you just exhausted, like your brain has the ability to blame so much, to an extreme. Like I could find so many ways to be able to blame. And then you just get to the point where you're like, are you really, like, are you sick of this? Are you tired? Because your body just gets tired, where you're like tired of playing the game of going around. Because every single time that we would have one of those like blow-ups where a problem would happen in a department and the person is blaming, it would still come back all the way around after the argument or whatever to, yeah, you're right, it is me. And then of course you'd go unconscious about the problem a week or two later because you're like, no, I now know, no, it really was you. And like, but again, after the problem blows up and dies down, after the tidal wave happens, you're the one still sitting there apologizing to everyone. If you think about like I don't get drunk, but like think about the feeling of like, if you get totally drunk, you offend everyone in the room. And then once you get sobered up, you're like, I'm so sorry I said that, I didn't mean to. Like that's what's going on in these tidal waves, where you're just being the idiot, causing all kinds of drama and then apologizing. Honestly, you just wake up one day and you're like, are you done yet? Like, are you done? I'm done. Like, I'm done playing this game. So now you start getting to the point where you go, all right, I know that crazy psycho bitch is coming back a week from now. How do I fight her instead of just being in the moment and fighting the guy next to me? Like, how do I attack the me that is my tidal wave me? Because that's the one that's wrecking my life, not the guy next to me, not the situation that I'm in, not my job, not my parents, not somebody. It's like, okay, it's me. I've exhausted all of my resources of blame. And now you're just like, okay, so who is won at this? Because I don't have the answers. I'm the one that keeps messing everything up. I don't have the right answers. And now it's like, that's why we got so obsessed with objectivity, because it was like, okay, in some way, shape, or form, I need to ask someone on the other side of the chasm. I need to actually find someone out there who's won at this crazy situation that I'm in. And that's why we got obsessed with Gary Vee. That's why we got obsessed with Tony Robbins. I'm following a guy now that literally is like out of prison. He's like Wes Watson. I'm following that guy on the internet because he's right up my alley. I'm like following that guy. I'm going to watch that guy 10 times a day because those are the people that have made it through. So if somebody's made it through, so it's possible. It exists. Somebody's made it through this insanity that I'm going through. Okay, how'd you do it? What are you doing every day? What are your habits? And what do I got to do to build into my life to become a different person? Because you just get exhausted. It's almost like your external world and your internal world are like they meet each other. Because a lot of times your internal world will be like, I'm fine, I'm doing great, even though your outside world is blowing up, or vice versa. Your outside, your outside inside are mixed up. It's that congruency when your inside world is congruent with reality that you're doing well. And that's where it's like, okay, I have to get to the point where everything in my outside world also matches what's going on inside my mind. Therefore, I can live at peace. And I got cornered. My outside world was saying, you're failing out here. And my inside world, I couldn't lie to myself anymore with blame. So that's basically it. And like, when was the exact date? I don't know,
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Do you feel like it was, you had a slight advantage because you have double activated FI? Like, did it help at all or not? You don't think that it helped at all?
No.
No.
I wish it did. Honestly, I wish the functions mattered at all. I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, well, Dave had it easy because he was able to see his own patterns and put pressure on his masculine FI. And then there's Tony Robbins. So you're like, no, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it feels like the answer is ego death. And the way to ego death is a rite of passage. So you've been hearing about this for centuries. And the Spartans are the ones that mass produced rite of passage. Military does it a little bit, but like the Spartans were all in on that game. And what happened to Gary Vee growing up, and what happened to Tony Robbins growing up, and what happened to Wes Watson in prison is a rite of passage, where you get your external world is so intense and so, like you can't use your saviors anymore. Your saviors fail you. And so you can't hold on to that ego. It's like your ego is made up of your saviors, of this is who I see myself as. My saviors are my identity. And I get extremely threatened if the world doesn't let me use only my saviors. I get extremely offended if I ever am expected to do my demons. And that's our egos. And we hold on to that, like, screw you, I'm going to be my type. And I'm going to hold on to it. And it's just extreme ego. You can see it everywhere. Everyone is so obsessed with their ego. And it's not until you get in a situation where your external world is like, screw you to an intense degree, where you're not allowed to bounce around just using your saviors only. And you get caught. And because you get caught, like Tony Robbins got caught. Gary Vee got caught. Growing up, he could not use his saviors and win. And therefore, Wes Watson couldn't use his saviors. Literally got boxed in a prison. Guys, TENE, play, blast, consume. TENE, audio. Got boxed. And therefore forced into this rite of passage of, I either die and stop playing the ego game, stop holding on to everything that scares me, that I'm afraid of, that I am obsessed with, stop holding on to that, and then let it go and actually be able to go, I do suck. I am at the bottom. If I look at reality, I really am at the bottom. So if I'm at the bottom, now what? Well, you get started and you chip away and you start learning what growth mindset is, because you don't have anything else. Because if you're fixed mindset, you're screwed. If you're at the bottom and you're fixed mindset, then your parts are the only thing you have. And you never can grow.
Unless you're like that lucky military guy that you guys did.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So from what I'm hearing, you basically need to get cornered into a wall, like paint yourself in a corner,
right?
Be so exhausted, and you have no more choice but to face your demons,
right?
And work towards that. Now, I'm just wondering, what are you doing right now to practice FI? Because like from just watching your classes, you guys talked about how you do need to exhaust your animals and your functions first before you can get to the bottom part, right? Like, for example,
Sure.
like Dave won't use consume until he's exhausted, his blast, his sleep, and his play, right? And so to get to even that point, then like it's harder for you to get the reps in, because then you have to waste the other stuff. So how do you quickly finish the other stuff so you can get down to business and work?
Right.
In, yeah.
So yeah, for someone like me and you with the demon introverted world, it's like there's two things that you have to do. So you have to be able to do something repetitively every day. You have to be the one that is the controller. You have to turn yourself into the IJ. You have to be the one with the clipboard. You have to be the one with the plan. You have to be the one with the schedule. If you're not that guy, the whole rest of the world is, and you cannot earn your identity. And then you switch over to, well, what builds your identity? It's like, who do you admire and why do you admire them? Oh, I admire this person because they are dependable. Oh, I admire this person because they put pressure on themselves every day. Well, guess what you're going to have to do for your own self to do those things. So for me, I'm now choosing to be the one that's the blaster, that's responsible for planning our day, talking about planning our day. What's coming next? What time are we doing something? Like that's why I'm like, oh, I know what time I have to be off by. Like I'm the one that now has to be responsible for every hour what is happening and what needs to happen and communicating about that. If I'm not, I stop believing in myself and therefore I get massive insecurity. And so I'm responsible for the planning. I'm also responsible for consistently working out every day. That's something I don't want to do. I hate doing it. I don't want to look like a workout person, but that is something that is hard for me. Therefore I do it. So all of these things that I don't want to do, that I don't like to do, I make sure that I do those things because that builds my identity. So working out is one of them. Blasting and talking about the plan and the schedule is one of them. Planning for the week. Gosh, it's just so much for me. Honestly, a lot of it's planning. All of those like organized things of narrowing down and not being the one in a conversation to explode a conversation, but to be the one in a conversation that pulls it down in. Those are the kinds of things that are building my identity that I have to be responsible all day long, every day. When I don't, I feel insecure. And therefore I'm not working on my identity, you know?
Do you feel like it helps that your blast is your first to function and it's also double masculine?
I wish.
Does it help at all, or you don't feel like it?
No,
No.
I wish. No, it's so painful still. It's hard. It is so hard. I feel like even like it being masculine, it's harder because I don't come out, and maybe it's harder for me, but like I don't come out softly. So when I come out to do the planning, it's very like military rigid, and the team is like, okay, we are going to be doing this at this time. Here is what is coming next. And everyone's just like, okay, weirdo.
Yeah, now you know what a real ENTJ feels like. No, just kidding.
I know. My dad is blast play ENTJ. So I know what an ENTJ is. My type too, visual. So it's like masculine doubling up. They're intense.
You and your dad are both visuals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's crazy. You look similar like your dad too, or?
Do I look like him? Is that what you said?
Similar?
Yeah. Yeah. We both have lion heads.
Yeah, I have a coworker that looks like you too, and I was like, I wonder if she's an ENTJ. I was like, she looks like Shan, you know, like.
Right? Yeah, I'm always surprised when somebody's like, I'm an ENTJ, and then they'll have this like small introvert face where they have like just the skinnier face, and I'm like, yeah, like we have these giant like I don't even have as big as some of them have, but just
like squarish, you mean, or?
Yeah, square, big, and then also like the different dimensions. Also, like I guess these are like visual eyebrows, but yeah, just the very like.
I can't see it because I'm audio. I'm blind, right? I'm audio. I don't see anything. Like I just, right. But I like my hearing's like I learned really well from hearing. You know.
Good.
Like,
there you go.
Like,
yeah.
But I don't see things. Like I'm not detail oriented. Like I trip over stuff all the time. It's horrible.
Demon sensory. Yeah.
Yeah, but what about your secondary So you're not just like you're a very unique ENTJ type because not only do you blast last, which is supposed to be your first,
right.
You're also a jumper. So usually people kind of associate the stereotypical ENTJ with like very bossy, very like there's something up their butt, like it's just like no, they're not fun.
I know, right? Totally. Well, yeah, that's the problem with Myers-Briggs only having the 16.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, okay, so there isn't just 16. And now you're asking, well, what is an ENTJ then? And we pared it down to just the function order, So it's like, well, to us, what an ENTJ is somebody that has TENISEFI and all kinds of different activation and masculine and feminine that goes with it, So that like there's 32 different kinds of ENTJs, and I'm all the way on this side.
You're the fun ENTJ. You're not the
Yeah, there you go. Play.
yeah. You're not the boring the boring one.
Yes.
The
No,
evil. The evil
right.
yeah, you're not the evil ENTJ.
Right. Yeah. Play, consume, sleep. I'm all the way on the introverted side of an ENTJ, and then I think my dad is like here, right there.
So
They're fun.
I think what I'm getting from you and like Dave now is like when you guys were fighting, I feel like you were fighting about like completely different things too. Because like Dave is like freaking about things, right? And you're
Oh
freaking
yeah,
about like maybe him being selfish, maybe. I don't know.
1000%. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's probably like scratching his head, like what? And then you're
Yeah. Like who cares? We're dealing with chaos here. That's what matters.
yeah, it's like no, it's not about you. It's about this thing.
Totally.
And then you're like, what? No, why would people freak out about that? You know?
Yes.
And then he you know, maybe he'll like let you know about, you know, your problem too. He's like, no, that's not a problem. Like
Right.
it's yeah.
Completely. Yeah. The observer decider, like if you're on different poles from your partner, it's like, what world are you living in? It's fine. We'll just fix up the house problems. Who cares? You know, I didn't care. I didn't think that those things were unsolvable. But the people stuff, no, that was hard.
Yeah. So how does it what is it like to be a double observer? Because that's the thing that like
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, me and Dave are very imbalanced when it comes to stuff, you know, like control and chaos. Like control is gonna be my number one problem, you know. It is
Right.
my number one problem. You know, I can give you a huge list. Like I still have masculine SI, but so I can give you a list of my problems, but it's still a problem. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I guess double observing is just sort of, honestly, it feels like, yes, of course, I don't like control. Like I hate being controlled. I don't want any limitations because then I can't gather. So I still have that as a demon. The difference is though, I feel like if I spent enough time there, I would win. If I spent enough time on taxes, even though it used to be something that would cause me great anxiety, I could still win there. I'm not officially stuck in that arena. But when it comes to like, if somebody's upset with me and I mess up that interaction and then they do end up being like, I really don't like you, because of the insecurity of working on the identity of like, I don't put in enough reps there. That's where like, it feels like a bottomless pit. Oh, well, how would I ever work out the struggle between humans? If they decide that they don't like me, then how would I change that? Because my identity is not that movable. You know, the poles just give you an extreme fear of like, how would I ever really put in enough time there to make up for the problems I cause with the tribe? So, but that's the difference. So you can always see the single observers will feel that way. Like when it comes to like, if there's a computer issue, I'm stuck because I can't do the other observer enough to make up for what would solve that problem. And that's just, you know, either or. You're going to have one or the other, you know?
You know what, the most, my favorite thing about objective personality, hands down, is it, I think it helped me become better at empathizing with other people. Because like when I see like, you know, an EJ or an IP freaking about
Right.
people and I'm scratching my head, I'm like, what?
Right? Like it just sounds crazy to you, but now you're like, oh, I get it. You do that and I do this.
Yeah, because I'm like, I need to introduce you to someone. Why don't you just talk to them? Who cares? If they don't like you, who cares, right? And then no, but it's a big deal to them, right? So like,
right.
so but then now, like whenever they are freaking about their stuff, I just look at myself freaking out with my SI, and I'm like, you know, like even right now I still freak out, and I know because of like what you guys have been teaching, I know that it's not real, but it feels real, and I'm actually absolutely going batshit crazy, right? You know, and like sometimes it's uncontrollable. Like I actually lose control. It's almost like what do you call it? Like fight or flight, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's that messed up. So now I have better empathy for other people. Like that's what I
Right.
felt is like the biggest lesson I've gotten from your class. So
Right.
and then so we're gonna wrap this up now. To segue to the end here. How can people find like people who don't follow objective personality? How can people find out more about you guys? You know, like the line of work that you're doing, and how can they contact you? I know you get a lot of emails already, but like how can they, you know, like the new people? Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, the best place to find us is our YouTube channel. You'll get kind of a feel for how crazy we are. So that's the Davesuperpowers channel. I think it's still called that.
Yeah, it
Dave
is.
Superpowers.
It's
I'll
not.
change that. I'll change that eventually. But Dave Superpowers YouTube channel is the best place to find us. Yeah, that would be it. Yeah.
Yeah, that name doesn't get any more IP. Like,
I know. It's so funny. Totally true. Totally true. Thanks, Kendrick. I really
all right.
appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Shan.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.